And so throughout the years, I kind of, went through this process of trial and error, trying to put in new things, trying to take out things and seeing what worked best. Slowly, I started drifting towards a more plant-based nutrition. Slowly, I started taking away all the refined sugars, all the refined simple carbs, all these things that they kind of work as paper on fire. They make the big flame, but they die out very quickly. And eventually, without even knowing, I started kind of following this new approach that is actually being studied right now by some of the best nutritionists, sports nutritionists in the world, which is called OFM, optimized fat metabolism. So the idea is that you eat wholesome foods, like whole foods, which is like, a bunch of veggies, a bunch of natural things, but very much focus on good fats. So eating a good amount of good fats, they can come from, I eat a ton of avocados, good oils, olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, coconut oils, nuts, seeds, all these things, and eggs and stuff like that. And with this new approach, I found that my body kind of was already adapted to burning fat. So you skip. You remember you just mentioned the hitting the wall in the marathon. Hitting the wall in the marathon is nothing but the body, which is used to burning glycogen, so carbs. Usually after 2.5, 3 hours, you deplete your glycogen levels. And when you hit the wall, it's nothing but the body switching from glycogen to fats, right? And that's when you get your second wind. You don't get your second wind. All you do is the body that is starting to burn a different fuel. So imagine if you already optimize your fat metabolism right at the start, you're already burning fat, you never hit the wall. You have a much longer lasting, consistent release of energy. It doesn't give you those glycemic spikes that makes you feel like $1,000,000, but then it's just a debilitating crash. It just keeps going. It's like putting a big log on fire that just keeps burning and burning and burning. And for as long as you want to go, for as long as you run, you always feel good. And that's, I think, one of the main secret in ultra running. Perhaps not in shorter, more explosive like sports. If you're a soccer player, a basketball player that you need to shoot out like for an hour and a half, then, that regular approach will work. But for endurance athletes all across the board right now, there is definitely this, trying to nearing this philosophy, this new approach.
And to obtain the state that you're talking about primarily burning fat, something that's become more in vogue these days is intermittent fasting. I know you do some training in fasted state. What did you find do you find that to be beneficial? And what do you find to be the benefits? How long did it take for you to start to see benefits of training in a fasted state? What was it like in the beginning?
Well, at the beginning, it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning, it's really hard. It's really hard because, again, it's almost like teaching a car from burning gas to burning diesel. It's like a different paradigm, almost a different approach. So at the very beginning, it becomes hard because your body's still addicted and used to that glycogen top off. So, and that's why, like, you see a lot of people, they have breakfast and then mid-morning they need a snack, otherwise they feel faint, they feel like lightheaded. So you can make it to lunch and then have a snack in the afternoon, otherwise you cannot make it to dinner, right? So that's a constant search for fuel, constant search for energy. Once you take the time, and I'm talking about the adaptation period, it could take up to 2-3 months, is lowering the carbs intake, ramping up the fats and some protein more. And what happens at that point is whether you eat or not, you are fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like last fall, I did a reset of 5 days fast. And the first day you kind of get a little groggy because you have the habit of eating. It's more about the habit more than the need. But then the other 4 or 5 days, I would go out running and I was perfectly fine. 5 days of no eating nothing and still training. So now, of course, that's like, that's a heavy reset, because
Mm-hmm.
fasting also helping with resetting your organs, your metabolism. It helps with many, many different levels. But when we talk as an athlete point of view, what it does, it allows your body to perform in economy. So perform at a higher level, burning the least amount of calories possible, and burning as least possible, so that whether you're eating or not, your energy levels are always fine. Because once you teach the body to burn fat, whether you have food in your stomach or not, it can always take it from itself.
Mm-hmm.
And the storage of fats, even on a very lean person, are hundreds of thousands of calories. And so this, to me, is a game changer. Practicing, maybe beginning with intermittent fasting, that could be a suggestion for the listeners, that want to try this approach. Maybe start with intermittent fasting. So you have dinner, and then the next day you maybe skip breakfast and lunch, and you have dinner the next day. So you do about 24 hours where you go all full on empty. It's going to be hard. The first few times you do it, maybe once a week, you can start doing that. It's going to be terrible, because the morning you used to waking up, having your coffees, having your sugars, having your breakfast or whatever, not giving it to the body, it's like, ooh, it's a shock. But over time, you realize that your body feels so much lighter. It feels so much stronger. And also, it almost sounds like a paradox, but also the recovery time is a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because the processing of carbs, especially simple carbs or sugar, produces a great amount of acidosis in the body, which delays the recovery time. So if you take those away and you prioritize fats, your flow in the body is a lot faster and you recover a lot faster. So there's that, like, we could talk, this is like one of the most important topics, and it's so deep and so it's a constant evolution of the thought of this philosophy, and we could keep talking for hours.
No, I could geek out on this all day. And
Yeah.
I had like a whole list of
But
questions just about food that I won't even get to.
I hope I explained it well. But again,
I
it's a
think you
very
did a
difficult
fantastic
topic.
job. You
Okay,
did a
thanks.
fantastic job, man. I mean, one thing I would add to it, and you hinted at this, is the incredible mental benefits. I know for myself, I stopped using food as an excuse.
Yes.
I would always use it. I'd get in an argument with my wife. I'd be frustrated by a situation. I'd be like, well, I'm hungry. I'm hungry. And I just stopped using that as an excuse. I realized, no, I'm just mad because I'm an asshole, and I gotta work. I gotta work on that.
Yeah. Well, food is an addiction. Is absolutely an addiction, and you see at many different levels. But the detrimental factor not only shows in the physical, but as you just pointed, in the mental. You have a mental clarity, a mental control, a mental stability, balance, center, whatever we want to call it, because you're no longer searching for the next top off, but whether you eat or not, you're perfectly fine. And that gives you that mental clarity that, in my opinion, allows you to reach higher levels of personal development.